Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Lee McCulloch and Tam McManus here with me to talk football and look ahead to that big international for Scotland at Hampden against Norway. We'll also look back at the game against Georgia as well as deal with some of the news domestically and slightly further afield. Here's what's coming up on the show. Steve Clarke hailed his Scotland players for showing control amid some controversial antics from Georgia in last night's 2-2 draw. Goalscorer Scott McTominay branded Georgia players crybabies and accused them of time wasting before Scotland's late equaliser. Vidar Riseth warns Norway are too reliant on Erling Haaland and Haaland and Odergaard as Scotland's opponents miss out on automatic qualification.
To have big stars in the team, that is good, of course. That is really good. But you know, the most important thing when you're building up a good team, it's the whole team have to work good together, you know.
Aberdeen have closed their ticket office amid a probe into claims Rangers fans have hijacked the club's cup final sales. Yeah, that's a few of the topics we'll be discussing. So, Ruffy, immediate reaction, 2-2.
Yeah, I think it was important we didn't lose the game. You know, the boys kept going right until the end. I thought Georgia fell into the trap of trying to see the game out and got caught, obviously, at the end. But yeah, I think you come away for the game, get the Norway game at home, you want to send the fans away. So we've stopped the rot of the three defeats. So I think that was the main thing.
Good performance?
I think it was a good performance. Slack goals. I think we could have done better at the goals, which the boys will be disappointed with. Obviously, the manager will be. But McTominay 7-7. It's really encouraging signs, and it's brilliant to see Shankland come off the bench. Wasn't even in the squad. Ends up on the pitch. Got off the bench, and what a header! I think Ruffy's spot on to stop the rot of 3 defeats in a row. We'll take it and then start to build on it for there.
Kvarackhlia scored the 2 goals.
Well done.
For, I just thought, do you know what? I thought I might as well get out of the road early just because Ruffy,
wait for Napoli.
the big boy that hit the ball with his right foot, you know. Can I just ask you, do you think that our keeper was at fault?
No, I don't think so, Peter. I think that it's 2 great finishes, particularly the second one. He cuts in, he's fired it, he's drilled it low, and it's went through bodies and it's in the bottom corner. So I wouldn't attribute any blame to Xander Clarke. I thought it was 2 great goals from Kvarackhlia. So no, he was a top man for Georgia. He was the best player on the pitch. I thought he was outstanding, and he got Georgia a draw. I didn't think they were that great apart from him. But as the guys are saying there, it was good that we stopped it, and it's good that we got a point because I thought it was a great game actually. I thought it was billed as a nothing to play for game for both teams, but I thought both teams went all out to win it. I think Scotland were pretty open, which is unlike us, but we got the equaliser at the end, and I thought we thoroughly deserved a point at least. I thought we were the better team overall, bar Kvarackhlia.
Yeah, and just out of curiosity, Ruffy, you as a goalkeeper, Xander himself is not one to shirk questions. I mean, he did mention in the aftermatch interview he's his own worst critic. You know, he'll look at it, he'll assess it, and think to himself, maybe should have, you know, as he just jinks in and then gets the shot away. Was there too many bodies? Was it late for him?
Yeah, I think Tam summed it up. I thought it was a good finish, but he angled it round 2 or 3 of our players. You know, he saw it a wee bit late. You know, and he tried to react to it, but I thought it was a good finish. I wouldn't blame him at all.
Should he have tried to cut out the first one?
No, I think again there was somebody in front. There's nothing worse as a goalkeeper if somebody's lining up for a shot and maybe a defender goes in your eye line, you know, and that's what happened. Somebody went in his eye line, so he's not really seen it. He's not seen it 100%. He's only got a percentage of it, and it's too late to react to it. No, I wouldn't have blamed. I thought he had a couple of good saves in the game as well. So
he made some big saves in the game, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, you know, it's like the reason why I feel sorry for keepers, not for Ruffy, but for others, is the fact that, you know, sometimes you get a situation where you make 3 great saves. If you lose 2 goals.
Well, that's why it's such a hard position to play, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
A little bit like centre-half, but then for the field players, but for the goalies, you're only one mistake away from being getting proper.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of pressure on him as well, because he now knows that Craig Gordon's back, you know, getting games, getting bounce games. There's a wee while to go for the Euros. He knows if Craig Gordon gets back in again, you know, there's one of them going to drop out, whether it's going to be Kelly or him. So he'd been under a lot of pressure last night to put in some kind of performance. I think he did enough, you know, and obviously I think Kelly's going to get the next game, so he'll have to go out there and produce the goods as well.
Yeah, I like the way you said there. There's nothing worse than a goalkeeper when a player gets in his eye line. Do you think it was helpful that the 5 players get in your eye line as Kubias bent it around the wall?
No, my problem with that one... My problem with that goal was I had
It's coming back to haunt you, isn't it?
midgets on the outside of the wall, never stood up, they all bounced out the road, as usual, you know. I don't understand. If you're going to go in a wall, you've got to be prepared to take the smack in the face.
Yeah.
You know, don't jump.
Who was in the wall
road,
you're talking about? Who are the two guys?
Mackay and Stuart Kennedy.
Stuart Kennedy. Stuart Kennedy.
Oh, he's
not small.
Aye, it's not big. You want big people in the wall, you know. I don't know who organised the walls, but...
Yeah.
I think you've got to put brave players in the wall. I remember playing for Hibs against Rangers at Ibrox, and Alec McLeish was the manager of Hibs, and I was in the wall, and that was the end of the wall, and I can't remember Russell Lappy hit a free kick, and I chucked it, ducked, and it hit my shoulder and went in. And McLeish never put me in a wall ever again for the next 2 years. Just said, you're not in the wall, stay up the park.
Well,
somebody brave in there, it's not going to turn their back.
To be fair, one of my old pals was brave in a wall, and I don't think he managed to do it any time after that, because Branco nearly took Murdo and nearly put him out of the stadium. knocked him out, and then it was one of those days when concussion, you're all right. Here's a wee dab with a brush.
Sponge.
Got on there in the magic sponge.
The smelling salts it was, actually. It took your head off.
I thought it was great. Murdo does it. I mean, he doesn't do the after dinner now, but he does a great story where he can just basically say, which way are we shooting? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I think it was... I mean, I just think he deserves tremendous credit because, I mean, Lee, we're players out and we still go to Georgia, we score goals and we still take a point. I mean, I'd love us to have been in a situation where suddenly you're putting Spain right under pressure in the final game, but they're not going to lose their final game, I don't think.
I don't see
So we're second. We're just going to have to put up with that, but it'd be nice to finish with 4 from 6.
It would have been brilliant to finish 4 for 6, but I think in the grand scale of things, how well we've done overall, it needs to be recognised. I think the manager deserves, as you're saying, an enormous amount of credit for how he's turned the full nation's expectations from being glorious failures into 2 campaigns sort of out of 2, which is brilliant. It's brilliant for the players, him, and the full country come Germany.
Yeah, and this is... We're
all gone?
Well, Tam thinks we're all gone. But the one thing I was going to say to you is this, is quite simply, you know him, you've worked with him. Is Shankland a certainty, or is he just giving the manager food for thought?
For me, he should be a certainty. But with him not been in the squad there, you just don't know. When called upon, he's answered. And that's when he's coming off the bench, got his goal. A lot of people talking about him. For me, if it was up to me, he would definitely be on that plane.
If he signs for Rangers, he's a certainty.
Now, is there any chance you could take that chip off your shoulder from him? Honestly, you spend...
I'm just saying, we feel our thinking.
You spend 2 months at Edinburgh and a night out and suddenly you've got a chip.
I think if he signed for Rangers, he'd be in the squad. So we'll see what happens in January.
Well, with all due respect to him, you know, this is the point we're talking about. We're looking at 5 or 6 Newcastle players who've apparently got Scottish grandparents, and we're looking and we're saying to ourselves, where are we getting the strikers? I mean, no harm to him, and I think he deserves tremendous credit. I think Lyndon Dykes will definitely go. The reason why I like Lyndon Dykes is because even when that boy's not scoring, he's coming off the park and he has left it all on there. He works his socks off.
Work great in pace.
We just don't have the goals from him.
If he was scoring goals, he wouldn't beat the club that he's at. Scoring goals regularly with all the attributes he's got, he'd be high end level. So something's got to give. Sort of Shankland can score the goals, we've seen that, but I agree with you. I think his running pace and power and work ethic is second to none. He'll definitely be there.
Yeah, Scott McTominay. How many more superlatives can we come up with for a man who couldn't get a game at Manchester United? I mean, I'd love him to go somewhere else and get regular football. I think it'd be a sensation and appreciated more.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago that the manager was trying him at centre half. you know, or a sitting midfielder. You know, now he's proved that he is versatile. He can play anywhere you want on the park. He can score goals, and he's a definite. You know, to get back to the Shankland one, I think the Shankland's problem is Ryan Christie. When that pool gets announced, the forwards is a Ryan Christie. You know what I mean? With the other forwards, I don't think Ryan Christie's a particular forward. You know, he's got something to offer, you know, but I think he would be the one that would take Shankland's place.
Well, and we'll get to that in a minute. I know Lee was wincing there when you said that. Wonder what your thoughts are on that. But here's Scott McTominay. First of all, I think great credit, goal, just keep scoring goals, but he wasn't too happy with the opposition and the way they were feigning injuries. He's obviously, they've got some really good players, but the way they were acting on the pitch, I thought it was a disgrace in terms of provoking the referee. Rolling around, crying like babies is not football, and we just wanted to get on with the game. I mean, that's the thing about it. You think Georgia were trying to get into the qualification places, their whole attitude. And by the way,
can I say there were two tackles for the Georgian boys that were outrageous. It could have been easy been a red card. One towards the end where he just flew in
on the right back.
On the right back, and then on the far side.
you talking about the one where he hit some there?
Aye, they could have been red cards, both of them, by the way. And Scotland boys just got up. Aye, the Scotland boy just got up and got on with it. See if that was a Georgian player, that'd have been pandemonium. So I think he's right there. I think that they did roll about, even from the first 5 minutes. Was that Patterson get booked? He kind of put his arm up or something like that, and not made the boy, and the boy's rolling about.
But a needle in the game for the.
I think there was. I think there was.
Where they didn't want to come back out at half time, did they?
There was a lot of things said, I think, in that game.
And then, there was a lot of battles on the pitch, and then on the press after it, there was a lot said.
Yeah.
So that's how I think there's a wee bit of needle in that game.
I must admit, I think Scott McTominay and, of course, our favourite when there's a fight, Ryan Porteous. I could see him sledging away there at everybody. But I'll tell you, you'll know this yourself. You do get frustrated when you're playing like that.
Of course you do, but sometimes that's playing in Europe, sometimes that's going away and playing against these countries. You need to, I think Callum McGregor said it perfectly after one of the Champions League games, we need to get better at dealing with how we're tackling, how we're playing. That's what he said in one of the post-match games.
What we need to be cute.
Yes, meaning Celtic
Streetwise.
At the time. More streetwise, because that 2 games that away games that they get players sent off. So I think that's going to be a little bit that's going to be in the Euros as well. So teams are going to need to go there and be streetwise that we're talking about.
I'd love to have been a fly on the wall at the football show on the Monday in Paris, where they had the 3 former French footballers and the host, and they were talking about your lot. In the game where Faddy scores. That would have been great, eh?
Played them.
Did you roll about? I didn't see anybody roll about. The only thing I saw in it was just putting yourself in front of the tackles. I didn't see, I don't think we should be. I think we should be streetwise in how to see a game out, but I certainly wouldn't like to be seeing Callum McGregor or Scott McTominay. I don't think it's in our nature to roll about and try and just.
I don't think he was getting at that.
No, what was the angle?
We need to watch how we're tackling, and we need to watch how we're like no hands up or any contact and like that's what he means. I don't think he means let's start being like.
Because I wouldn't like to be like. I wouldn't like to adopt that process, Ruffy. But everybody sits and starts cheating.
Don't get me
wrong. If you're winning 2-1 and there's 5 minutes to go, you do anything in the book. You know, I don't care. I don't care what you do.
There's Ruffy.
I would.
It's not just this country. It's not just foreign countries. It happened to me against Ian Black. You know, wee Blackie. Dunfermline against Inverness, and I try to get the tackle, and I try to get my foot out from between his legs, and he just rolled the boot and got me sent off. So it's not just foreign countries.
I think the worst example was Celtic and Seville that night.
Yes.
With Mourinho's team.
Vitor Baia.
That was just unbelievable.
But can I just say something to you? Lee won't be aware of this, but he can go on YouTube to see it. The kind of despicable things that you used to do, which was you'd bounce the ball and then you'd do what Griggsy used to do, which is he'd go over to the other end of the 6-yard area.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. By the way, he was
time waste.
He was the master at it, wasn't he? McGregor. See if there was 10 minutes left, he'd walk across the 6-yard and then he'd go, "What? Hey, Is that fair?
I told them we were playing Dundee, up at Dundee, and we were getting beat 3-0 with 5 minutes to go, and it was quite windy, and every time I put the ball down for a by kick, the wind blew it, and I went and got it, and I brought it back, and then the wind blew, and I brought it back, and the wind. And Bob Valentine was the referee came up, and I went yellow card. I says, "What are you giving me a yellow card for?" He goes, "Time wasting." I says, "We're getting beat 3-0. There's 5 minutes to go. Why am I time wasting?"
Yeah. Is this the same Bob Valentine that was at Firhill that day?
No, that was another.
That was another
one
referee.
That hit the bar and come out, that one.
No, the one when you got to Firhill early.
Oh yeah, it was
Bob
Valentine.
Okay. Scotland
Not
again.
for us to that story.
Story for another day, Jake.
I know what story. Anyway, let's move on.
The group. Have a look at it, Ruffy. It's still great reading. I think Steve Clarke deserves tremendous credit. He's done a brilliant job for me. I just hope we can finish with a win over Norway, and then I don't think we're going to win the group. Am I being harsh on it? But I just all of it leads towards what are we going to do in that group? Who are we going to get?
Yeah, and as I said earlier, I think it's important we get in pot 2. I don't know how the positions go. Obviously, that draw last night would have helped us. A win against Norway will help us as well. I think the two defining games in the game was the Spain game at Hampden and the Norway game. They're the two games that got us to where we were, because everybody else was taking points out of the other teams. So I just really think it's important we get in pot 2.
Yeah, Erling Haaland is going to miss this game, so that's a bonus. I think he's injured, and I'll be devastated if he walks out there with a big bandage. So here's how it looks. Scotland, to get top spot, we need to beat Norway and hope Spain lose at home to Georgia.
Spain draw and we beat Norway with 10 goals. That's goal difference.
Yeah, so, I don't know what this is.
I'm just saying, it's a possibility. How do
you know what?
Do you want me to leave?
See if there was no, that's coming. See if it always happens to Rangers midfielders, doesn't it? Honestly, they eventually go.
He's either too many balls.
No, absolutely. Or even better than that. Once he starts kissing the badge, you'll be right out that door. Because you're ruthless when it comes to it. When you make a decision.
There are cards behind there. They just come up. And get them, you just get it.
So, pot 2. Scotland need to win by 2 goals or more, or 1 goal. We needed to win by 2 goals or more the other night there, and if we score at least 4 against Norway, we could get into pot 2, but highly unlikely. Any other results really put us in pot 3, which includes Serbia, Denmark, Ukraine, Czech Republic and the Netherlands. Pot 2 is currently made up of Turkey, Hungary, Albania, Slovenia, Switzerland and Belgium, and the draw, of course, taking place on December 2nd. Do you know what?
Pot 3 looks strong on pot 2.
I know, I was going to say that.
I was just thinking that there as well.
Well,
in pot 3.
Can I tell you something? It would be nice. Can we finish off on a high with a win over Norway?
Yeah, I think with the fans behind us, I think they'll all be wanting a good send-off. They'll all want to congratulate everybody for what they've done. Place will be bouncing, and depends what team he puts out. If he keeps experimenting, they might think they can get a draw at it, but I don't think we'll lose the game.
Yeah, we're going to look at who we think is going to make it there shortly, but I think, when you look at their side, you're always looking at 2 key players. Haaland is one and Odergaard from Arsenal is the other. Alison McConnell is our chief reporter here at PLZ, and she had a chat with the former Norway international Vidar Riseth, and he reckons that Norway, a win is there for Scotland because at times they can be too reliant on their 2 big stars.
Yeah, everybody know it's, to have big stars in the team, that is good, of course. That is really good. But, the most important thing when you're building up a good team, it's the whole team have to work good together, And if you look at Scotland, they have lots of good players. But, maybe they don't have name like Haaland,
Yeah, good to see that Vidar's let himself go. He looks fantastic, doesn't he?
He's looking unbelievable. What, 51, did you say?
51, yeah.
He looks great.
And he's in teeth.
Yeah. Well, it's only a matter of time.
What happens when you brush him when you're younger?
But to be fair, I actually think he makes a great point, because you look at some teams, and I think we're doing a wee bit of a disservice to Wales, because they did have some good players, but they had one exceptionally good player, a great player, a world-class player in Gareth Bale.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult if you're going to depend on one player, because teams can try and snuff him out, and it's similar with Haaland. Odegaard's a top player as well, but Haaland's the main man for them. And I watched the game against Spain in Norway, and they couldn't get the ball to Haaland. They couldn't get the ball to him. They cut off the service to Haaland, and Spain won the game in a canter. So it looks as if Haaland's not going to play anyway, but they've still got some decent players. Odegaard, Sorloth, he plays up front, I think, for Sociedad. So they've got some good players, but I would expect us at a packed Hampden to go and take care of them. I think we've got more to play for than Norway.
What's your prediction?
I'm going to go for 2-0 to Scotland.
2-0?
Yes.
Ruffy?
2-1.
Yeah, I'm in the 2-1 camp. What about you, Lee?
I'm in the 2-1 camp as well. Scotland, yes.
Yep, it's going to be a great day, because I think all the players, Ruffy, should get a huge send-off. Maybe not 50,000 of them all paying a tenner to wave you off to Argentina, which is what everybody did, by the way.
I don't think they'll fall into
Did you get the money?
Don't think they'll fall into that. A couple of grand, but...
A couple of grand in 1977 was good money, but
no, we never got money. They just, I don't know where that money went. But no, we just ran the bus, ran this thing, say cheerio.
Isn't it great? Change days, isn't it?
Pelt was the rotten fruit and they come back.
30,000 people in a stadium, Ruffy and the Scotland squad just going round on the track, waving to people. And they're all going, hooray! And
I can remember.
Did you get the same when you come back?
So we did.
By the way, there was only 3 players on the plane coming. They'd all bailed off at London and everything, didn't they?
No, I'll never forget that. I'm sitting, me, Derek Johnson and Joe Harper going, where is everybody? They all jumped off at London, shocking.
Yeah, you took the full raft, didn't you, Ruffy?
The full raft. I remember when the plane was coming in, I could see they were all on the tarmac. 400 people on the tarmac. And Ali McLeod going, oh look, there's a nice reception. I'm going, Ali, it's not a nice reception.
Yeah, well, I think he deserves tremendous credit. I think he's restored a bit of, definitely restored pride in the country, and the way we play. We always talk about technical people, but we can hold on to the ball at times. There's just a couple of wee still things that I think you'd love to unearth. Front line,
centre half and a centre forward. I think
centre half.
I think a top centre half and a top centre forward, and we would make be a right good team. I think midfield we are stacked. We can keep the ball. We've got a bit of dig in there with McGinn. McTominay can score goals. McGregor, Gilmour. We've got really strong midfield and fullbacks. I thought Patterson was excellent. I thought he had a good game.
Yeah.
Andy Robertson, Tierney, so Hickey. So I think we've got a good squad now. We've got a lot of players playing at top level in England, and that was not always been the case. So I think the more players you've got playing at top levels, the better your squad's going to be.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant actually. Steve Clarke after the game last night, quick to point out, delighted with the performance of the team, but obviously I think was dominated by what we've just been talking about, which is the time wasting antics as well. We have to make sure we control ourselves and don't get involved, don't encourage any sort of shenanigans. Definitely against Norway, we knew there was going to be extra time, because now they have a better handle on time wasted, and it was nice to score in injury time, and I think that stands us in good stead, Lee, for the game against Norway. We're never at that point where we think we're out of it. There's a real resilience in this.
Well, it used to be though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like in years gone by, it used to be like if the opposition scored the first goal, everybody's like, oh, here we go again. But now there is a sense of belief in character and resilience in the squad, and the late goals have scored. I just think the Norway game, there's going to be a tremendous atmosphere there. I think it will be, potentially could be comfortable.
Yeah, okay, let's hope so. Who's going? Who is going to Germany? Here are our thoughts on it. The fringe players who could make the squad. Here's the overall. Who should be on the plane? We've got 20 Stonewall certainties, but Liam Kelly, Craig Gordon, Greg Taylor, Josh Doig, Anthony Ralston, Grant Hanley, Liam Cooper, John Suter, Ben Doak, Lawrence Shankland, Kevin Nisbet and Jacob Brown could be the ones that you're possibly looking at, Ruffy, that you've got to pick 3 from there. because
it's a tough one because obviously the midfield is so strong. So I think if that caption goes up there, how many midfield are in that? There's not that many. Most of them are full-backs, some strikers in there, defenders. I don't think there'll be many of them will make it. I really don't.
you don't.
I think in terms of Shankland and Nisbet, he's going to take one of them. They're very similar.
I agree with you.
They're very similar players. And Nisbet's out injured now. Shankland's playing well, so Shankland's in the driving seat. If Kevin Nisbet comes back from injury and starts banging goals in the Championship, then he's got a chance. But Ben Doak was another one who we thought he's in and out at Liverpool at the minute. I thought if he was going to be in the squad, he'd have been in this squad. I thought they had a look at him in these two games.
If he was going to go on the plane.
If he was going to go on the plane.
Aye.
Maybe there's time with friendlies and all that, but I think you're leaving it late. I think Stevie Clarke's very, very loyal to people.
That's what I'm saying. He's very loyal to all the midfield boys. He's
loyal to the guys that have done the business for him.
He's not going to leave it the ones that come in, the Armstrongs. You know, they've been there. You know, and the McLeans. I can't see them. Although the boy Doak's a good player, I don't think the service that they've given him through the campaign would justify putting him in and leaving somebody behind.
Do you think the goalies, so you've got Kelly and Gordon, one of them, it's got to be one of them then, isn't it? Do you think it's harsh if you take Craig Gordon when he's probably only going to be fit for the last maybe 10 league games? Is it harsh?
He'd have to be exceptional coming back, Craig. I've still no... I mean, I was playing by his game. Xander Clarke's the one. I think he's the one. I think he's the number 2 just now. If obviously Craig Gordon come back, I think he'd be the number 3.
Craig Gordon would be the number 3.
Mm-hmm.
So who goes in? Gunn?
I would go Gunn. See, I don't know if Craig Gordon's going to come back to where he was. You know, it's a big. You know, Xander Clarke's doing okay with Hearts. You know, he's not done many mistakes. So Craig would have to be exceptional to get back in there.
Kelly?
I think Kelly's the vulnerable one. I don't know why, but I think he is the one that might just lose it.
And the team that's struggling as well, it's not helping them.
Cooper, Henry, Porteous, McKenna, Ralston, Patterson, Taylor. There's your back line.
I think Taylor might lose it, obviously, with Tierney and Robertson coming back.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's a fair shout. McGregor, Gilmer, McTominay, McGinn, Ferguson, Doig, Armstrong, McLean, Christie, Ryan Jack.
So many midfielders. That's
What
crazy
about that
with
midfield?
I know.
And Christie's in that.
I thought Ryan Jack would have been vulnerable, but he's actually played pretty well for Rangers.
Starting games in it, isn't he?
Starting, and he's playing well.
But when you start mentioning names like Jack, you're then going to say who's he going to get in front of?
Aye.
Of all the ones that you read out there. You know, is he going to jump them? You know, there's certainties in there. There's the McGinns, the McGregors, you know, the boys that are playing all the time. So, do you see, the 23 is not a lot, is it?
No, but that's been cut.
It's been cut. It was 26.
I know, but it's 23 now.
It's 23 now, so it's really... What was it in your day?
I didn't really bother as long as I was in
How many
it.
goalies was there? 3?
3, aye.
3 goalies?
3 goalies, aye.
Yeah. And did you always...
Leighton was always number 1, but were you 2 or 3?
I have to say, from about...
In the third World Cup I was number 3.
It's actually amazing. It's actually amazing to say this, Lee, which you won't believe. From about, 1975 onwards, roughly?
74 team was magnificent.
Yeah, but 75 onwards for yourself, you really started to, right up until, 82, you were the number 1 goalkeeper.
Yeah, there was 2 or 3 came and went.
Yeah.
You know, the English ones, they always get a thought, they would get a shout, but
George Wood wasn't in the same class as you, no harm to the boy.
Well, we played with Everton, so,
Yeah.
you know, at that time the English always thought the Scottish goalkeepers were, I was going to say crap there, but better no. Until Andy came in and then Jim came in and they started playing down in England, so there was always an inferior, you know, thought, you know, but no, I had 10 good years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people forget that, Ruffy. You were a top drawer goalkeeper and made some absolutely brilliant saves. You never get any. You never get any.
Punchline. That's wearing a punchline.
It wouldn't be a punchline. It would be a drop line.
To be fair, there are more. And listen, the last thing he wants is me to be all sincere and emotional and sentimental with him. We've been together over 10 years, and I think a lot of people forget you.
I have to say I had a good team. I had good players in front of me, a right good team. In all the games I played, I don't ever remember being under pressure. I don't ever remember obviously made saves, but not the amount of saves because of the quality you had in front of you, like the Dalglish's and the Souness's and Joe Jordan and Big Gordon McQueen, Martin Buchan, quality players.
Yeah,
so it was a right good
point.
I said that to Peter. I've got a photo. I showed Peter the photo in the house of a Scotland team, and at the line-up when we played Brazil, at the national anthem, there's a photograph of the team standing there, and seven of our team have got European Cup winners' medals.
Jeez.
Yeah, and by the way, can I just say to you, the other three were on the verge of being in a Winners' Cup final, winning it, or a UEFA Cup final. There was 10 of them who were in every European final you could think of, right?
Standard,
and they were winning titles in England and Scotland. And he had his League Cup medal. Honestly, think about it. He had his League Cup medal from 1971, and he's still the number one goalkeeper. What does that tell you? That's how good he was. So, that's the only moment I'm going to be sincere about it, because obviously...
Here they come. What about Iran?
I know, honestly, listen, you've got to mention these things from time to time. Scotland.
Who did we pick to leave it? Who was your three? Are going to lose it?
Do you know what?
Are they going to be defenders? I don't think they're going to be midfielders.
He's obviously trying to get another top drawer international coming up as another friendly. But I must admit, and I think I hold my hands up here because we have to bow to Steve Clarke's superior knowledge. If he pulls a rabbit out of the hat with one of these players who says, "Okay, I'm switching my allegiance," like Gordon at Newcastle. I don't think he's going to pull that off, Anthony Gordon. But
it's good that he's looking though. He's always looking.
We need a forward. And Tam and I were saying to ourselves, see Doak. I know probably Steve Clarke's looking and laughing, but we're only looking at something a wee bit different that we don't have. Something that could offer us, when the game in the last 10 minutes, okay, if it's getting away from us, can we get somebody up front who can sneak something? A Shankland.
But if you take Doak, you know how loyal Steve Clarke is that we've been speaking about. So somebody that's done it for him is going to be missing it.
That's why I don't think he's going.
Yes.
I just don't know who he's going to pick from elsewhere. We need a striker, Ruffy.
Dykes, Adams and Shankland will be our three strikers, I think.
Dykes, Adams and Shankland. Yeah, it's not a bad shout. Would you agree with that, Ruffy?
I would agree with that, yeah, but they're not the striker that's going to come up with something special. We talk about all the big teams have got that player when it's nothing each. Yeah. They pull something.
We've not got any.
I'm not talking.
Anyone. Give me a name.
Well, we don't have one.
No, that's fine.
No, we don't have one. We have good, as you said, Dykes will hustle and bustle and cause trouble, but we don't have that striker. That's why McTominay scored 7 goals in midfield.
Unbelievable return,
isn't it? Oh. Everything he touches at the moment, brilliant.
He scored more goals for Man United than their front 3 or 4 combined as well this season.
Incredible.
He's flying.
What do you think? You can put your comments in the section below. If you are enjoying our content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Lots of people are watching and listening on the podcast as well. Thank you to so many of you who've sent us positive messages about the Straight Talk. Bobby Bluebell of the Bluebells was our guest. Absolutely fantastic. Great listening to him. There's lots more different interviews on the way from politics, entertainment, legendary football people. I hope you're enjoying that. We've got the women's football show. We also have the journos, which is really good because we get to talk about a number of issues that not only affect us domestically, but in Europe and across the world. So it's well worth watching that as well. We're trying to give you as much variety as possible right across the board. So as we move on, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel and you can come and join the football family. Rangers' financial results come out at £252,000 of an overall turnover profit. So that's the That's the key point of it. Turnover was 83.8 million. Operating profit, as it says there, 252,000. Player trading, 23.6 million. Net losses, 4.1 million. And at the cost, 108 million, with wages at 64. So I think John Bennett is keen to try and emphasise, you know, the positive part, which is the 252,000 operating profit. And he wants to try and get Rangers back to a situation where challenging for the league, winning the league titles, getting to the latter stages in European football, and also player sales, which is absolutely key at the moment to the big two in Scotland.
Yeah, I think they've learned the lesson. The biggest criticism for the supporters were, where did the money go when the run to the final and the selling of the players, and they were a bit disillusioned that the players were coming in wanting matching it. But I mean, every board has a way of working, you know, and Rangers from the outside looking in looked as if they weren't spending big money, but they were putting players on good wages and attracting good players. So you're right, and I think, to be honest, they want to go down the Celtic model. They want young players coming in. They saw what Celtic have been doing. They'll be bringing them in, selling them on for 20 million, 15 million, and that's the way ahead. You get the success on the park by getting a good run in Europe, but at the end of the day, it looks as if the Scotland way is selling players on. I think both of them have said they're a selling club.
Yeah.
And I think that's how they have to balance the books.
And with that in mind, obviously the finances include the sale of Calvin Bassey and Joe Aribo, Lee, but you've got the sacking of Van Bronckhorst and Michael Beale, which obviously bites into the profits as well. I think a number of people at the AGM will look and say, was it a mistake with Alfredo Morelos and Ryan Kent to let them run down their contract? That was clearly a hit that they took on two really good players. And the other aspect of it, which a lot of people do when they really kind of forensically look at the AGM and the figures, is they'll look at the overall recruitment and they'll be critical of some of the players that were brought in that didn't contribute.
I think it's only natural that will happen. I think that they're probably still paying two managers just now. So you could say, was that misjudgment? All the recruitment all got looked at, but I think the biggest thing, and what Ruffy's saying there, is you're like McCausland's, the young boy that's come in to play about 3 or 4 games now. Rangers need a model where they're bringing, the last one was probably Patterson, that went for big money. The one before that, who was it?
Hutton.
Alan Hutton. That's not good enough. But if you look at the gap between them. So I think it's up to Rangers to start getting youngsters into the team and selling them on, as Ruffy's saying. Celtic do it brilliantly. And if they don't sell them on, like Callum McGregor, he stays, becomes a captain and wins them trophy after trophy. Rangers will be wanting money. How to get money, you need success. So it's like the vicious circle.
Yeah. The difficulty, though, Lee, is quite simply that when you are investing in players of a certain standard with a cost, there's a greater lottery, you know, that Celtic have gone down it as well. They've got a model where they have, right, this is the ceiling on what we're paying. Mm-hmm. This is the wage. This is the wage we pay, but this is the age gap that we'll be looking at. You know, we're going to sign players with potential, but they've got to be within this age range. Yeah. And very rarely does somebody of an experience come in on a high wage. No, that's not their blueprint. So it's at times it can be a lottery. Although Celtic do have a lot of players that they're well used to moving on for getting good money for them, for every frimpong, there's 7 or 8 failures.
Yes, well, it's one of the hardest things today is the recruitment at a football club and know how the players are going to react, especially Rangers, Celtic, the size of them, how hard it is to play there, how people are going to react after they're in there. You need to get them in. I think Celtic's model, they look at resale. So that they're bringing them in young. If they go and play a season or two, they've still got a resale value. Where if you're doing it a little bit older and you're coming in at 28, say, you're not going to get as much resale. So it makes perfect sense to go a little bit younger to make sure that there's the resale values there.
Yeah, and if you were looking at that board and analysing Celtic's is a huge success on the basis that they've got 70 million in the bank. Some of the players might not be up to the standards that some of the fans want to get them even a half-decent performance in the Champions League, but they're still selling players on, and the ultimate test here is, are they winning the league? And the answer is yes.
Celtic can afford to make mistakes, Peter. Rangers can't. I think that's a big difference for me. I think you talked about how much Celtic have got in the bank, and Celtic can afford to sign a couple that don't work out. Rangers, every signing's got to hit the ground running, and that's why you've seen so much scrutiny this summer with the guys that Rangers brought in for big money. Big money for Rangers. Have not spent that money in a long time. 4 million, 5 million. He's got to be very good. And if you're not very good straight away, you're written off. And Celtic can afford to sign a £2 or £3 million players, 2 or 3 and just be squad players, because inevitably they will find a gem like a Frimpong. So, no, I think that, listen, it's a little bit more encouraging for Rangers, but you're right, the two managerial positions and changes will have a big time into that. I think paying off Van Bronckhorst and his staff, and then Michael Beale literally near enough straight away after that has put a big dent on their profits. So, listen, they've got to get it right. They've got to try and get closer to Celtic. But as I said, Celtic are in a market now where they can afford to make mistakes.
Do you think maybe Rangers, and possibly Celtic to a lesser extent, should look at closer to home because of the talent that's maybe slipped through their fingers? I mean, we were talking about it today, this morning when we were together. We were looking at Lewis Ferguson. We were saying to ourselves, they missed a trick with Shankland, and for that it might have been £1 million. But £1 million, when you consider some of the players that they have signed for a substantial amount of money, Lee, and they just...
You look at the age of them as well, that especially Ferguson. You look at the age of Ferguson, if you're getting him for £1 million or just under £1 million, it seems now that it's an absolute no-brainer. He's a vice-captain there, he's flying, he's scoring goals, playing really well for his country. The other big one that Celtic missed out on, you'd probably say John McGinn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Back then, I think it was at too much money at the time, 3 million or whatever it was. And I think if you've got them and they're Scottish, you need to go and get them. For if you're one of the big two, you need to just get them.
Do they understand the size as well as Celtic and Rangers? Because
of course, they're going to be good as well.
Of course, but I think the players we've mentioned are good enough. Yeah,
absolutely, and I think they missed a trick. Okay, just give me a one-word answer on this, guys, and then we'll come back to you to elaborate on it. But should Aberdeen have had a 50-50 split in the cup final?
No.
No.
Yes.
Yes. And I think Aberdeen are a big club. So I don't understand why they didn't start from a 50-50 position. And I don't understand at that point, if they then, and they can do this at Hampden, if you don't sell out that allocation, then that block is then given to Rangers fans. I think the fairest thing to do would have been 50-50, and then if you don't sell an allocation or a block, then it's released. Now we are in a situation where ahead of this League Cup final, we've got Aberdeen shutting down their ticket office and investigating whether a number of Rangers fans have bought tickets for the Aberdeen end. Now, I must admit, I have my doubts, because if anybody jumps up in that Aberdeen end of Rangers score, it's not exactly the best place to be, Robbie, is it?
No, I think it'd be foolish, and you're depriving, somebody who would want to be in there if you're the sort of supporting Aberdeen. I'm saying a no because obviously the semi-final, I don't know how many they sold for the semi-final. I believe that you should be rewarded for what you've supported all the way through the tournament. Like the Scotland fans who are going to the Euros, they'll get a ticket because they've supported, they're on the, the SFA list. They've been to away games, they've been to home games, points. I don't know if Aberdeen filled that stadium in the semi-final. And I know every club, doesn't matter whether it's Rangers or Celtic, if they get to a final, there will be people wanting tickets who haven't been to any games. That happens, there's nothing you can do about that.
19,500 Aberdeen fans get tickets, Rangers get 25,000.
It sounds no fair, but I think when you look at the semi-final that the support Aberdeen brought, if they're getting whatever it is, 25,000, are they going to sell them? Maybe they should be given a divine right to be able to try and sell them, and then they give them back. I think that's your point. But I think probably to save time, you just give Rangers a little bit more because they're a much bigger club. It probably doesn't sound fair, but I think that's just the way it is.
Do you remember do you remember when you first joined and we told you that there was a test that they would go through? No. But you notice that see when you're saying something that you know there's a noise upcoming after it, you try and suppress a smile. You can see it, can't you? You watch his face and you can see him thinking, I know what I'm saying here, and it's going to get me pelted of a section, and I can see your face trying. That's exactly what he does, isn't he? You know when he's ready for the noise.
Do you disagree with what I said?
I think it should be 50-50. I think, so. And by the way, Hearts in the final, Hibs in the final, Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, 50-50, and then block it off, because there are times when they just don't sell them. So then, start off from a position of fairness and then say, right, you haven't sold that block, so we're now going to give that to the Rangers or Celtic fans. I get the whole thing, but it's a cup competition, and you've got to start it off with a set of rules. I think, again, this is the other thing about Scottish football. You have, some rules in place, and then some which are left vague that leave it wide open to criticism. Just set the parameters out from the start and say, here are the rules for cup competitions.
Yep.
If you get to the cup final, you get 50-50, and then each block will be released to you on the basis that you can sell a definite. And then after that, I mean, there are anomalies along the way. Livingston Hibs, you know what I mean? Livingston had taken up their full 980 allocation, and then the other 40,000 were released to Aberdeen
we still get beat.
To let the entire city down, or the east end of the city down. But by the same token, I think, I would have let them. And by the way, I still think at that point there would have been a block that might have been released to Rangers fans.
So Rangers have got 5,500 more fans.
Yeah. Tam?
I agree with you, Peter. I don't like agreeing with you, but I do on this occasion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
You got your 2 tickets, huh?
I get more.
Solid. You get an extra 2 in the Aberdeen end. Malky Mackay gone. Did he pull the trigger too early? Has he made a mistake? He just says Roy McGregor's as straight as a die on these situations. In these situations, it was pretty simple. It's results. For the players and the money that we gave them, we were looking for a better return.
Well, certainly you don't mess about with Roy McGregor. He calls the shots and everything. He either gets it right or he doesn't. And I've not got a list of the managers that have been up there, but some of them have been binned very early, or you go, wow. I think I might be wrong here. I think Dick Campbell. Dick Campbell was second top of the league. He got binned. Yogi Hughes. There's a lot of them get very moved on, and it's his club. He puts the money in, he makes the decisions, he takes it, and you can't really complain because he's that kind of owner. If they're struggling, he'll do 100% to make sure that there is success there. He knows they can't afford to go into that championship. If they disappear into that championship, they're gone. And it's a really difficult one to get yourself back. So
it's mid-November, Ruffy.
Yeah, I know, but it's where they are, and St Johnstone winning a couple of games.
Changed their manager. They're on a different trajectory.
The thing I didn't like about it, saying he needs a new manager, he needs a young Fergie. I don't think for a minute Malky Mackay didn't give it 100%. I think when we come across with Malky, he seemed to be 100% for the club. I thought that was a bit unfair, saying I need somebody who's going to shake it up.
I don't think it's just this season, Peter. I think it's last season as well. And they were very, let's be honest, they were very, very fortunate to stay in the league. And I think it's a continuation of last season just scraping up, and then this season starting poorly. And Ross County have got a big budget. Ross County are paying a lot more than Livingston's, and they're paying money. So he's probably thinking you're top 5, and then he's maybe thinking we should be competing for that 6th spot with Motherwells and Kilmarnocks and teams like that.
This is what Roy had to say on the departure of Malky Mackay. It's pretty simple. It's just results. From November 12th last year to November 12th this year, we've only won 7 games. I think we've drawn 8. On a year-to-year basis, we would have had 29 points. That won't keep us in the league. We took a reality check last season and we got out of jail. We decided to give a bit more money to the football side, and we had hoped we might kick on and be in a better position. We felt if we were going to make a change, it would be better done now to give the new manager 26 games. Everyone felt maybe this was the time, and you can't fault Roy because he's managed to keep them in that division, for quite a while. I feel sorry for Malky. I wonder where he goes next on it. It's a tough one. Does he go back down to England? What's his next opportunity? But for Roy, he's got to look for the same type of kick that St Johnstone have got with Craig Levein.
Interesting to see who they go for. We were speaking maybe a Callum Davidson, maybe we were speaking before it.
Who do you think will get it?
I think Callum Davidson will probably get it, and I don't think it'd be a bad one. I quite like what he's saying though about just let's do it now. He's obviously got a ruthless streak in him, and give the manager 26 games instead of leaving another 5-10 games and then somebody scrambling about. It still gives the manager a transfer window and time to change things around.
Okay, couple of things before we finish. Your old mate, Ian McCall, appointed Clyde boss, and of course he was sacked by Thistle, and he's replaced Brian McLean at the League 2 club, the bottom of the 4th tier, so he's got a job on his hands, just 7 points from 10 games, Ruffy. And the chairman, Gordon Thompson, said he was the number 1 choice for the club. I must admit, I like Ian. I think he's a good coach. But if I was a Clyde fan, I'd be looking at the photograph of him holding the scarf and thinking, is there any chance you could maybe smile, by the way? Because I mean, he looks as if he's ready to introduce. Honestly, he looks as if he's about to introduce a horror movie. I mean, look at that picture. I mean, for God's sake. I mean, the only thing missing is 2 vampires just flying behind him. What's that all about, Ruffy? He needs to smile.
I have to say I was surprised when I heard the news myself. I think Ian's done enough in the game, no disrespect to Clyde, but I thought there were other opportunities would be arising further up the leagues, but he's obviously went there, I don't know what kind of ambition they've got, they're sharing with Hamilton just now, so he obviously sees going in there and going upwards rather than going downwards, so he's got enough experience there, and I'm sure he'll do his best for them.
Do you want to phone him and tell him he's not coming to the Christmas party, Ruffy? Just on the basis.
No, he's actually good in the night out.
Is he?
Yes. Just a bad
Was it Ruffy's 70th? Turned up, remember?
Aye, it's a good guy.
Aye.
Yeah, lots of people turned up at your 70th, Ruffy.
Yes,
absolutely.
People I didn't know.
Well, absolutely. Always good to,
Anyway.
Yeah, always good to meet your wife, Sam. I mean, Ruffy, not you. Liam Scales set for a new long-term Celtic deal, and I think well done to the boy, because if you are in a situation where, and Celtic have had examples of that in the past with Anthony Ralston as well, just when you think you're heading out the door, there's an opportunity, and he grasped it.
He did. He's done superb. I watched him closely, the Atletico Madrid game at home, and the confidence and composure he played with was unbelievable. After seeing him playing with Aberdeen last season, I thought he looked quite nervous for most of the season. He's just, maybe it's the Brendan Rodgers touch, where he's looking confident, calm, composed, and he's a really good defender. So it's brilliant. It's brilliant for the club. Another young one that's come through. I know he's not really young, but one that's come through. So yeah, brilliant.
Left peg, Ruffy. Again, especially in the Champions League games when they're under pressure with a higher calibre of player. He has had a couple of wee shaky moments that you've highlighted, but he can still ping that ball out from the back.
I just think he's raw. He's a raw player who's not been playing at that level, and all of a sudden he is playing at that level, so he's going to gain the experience of being in there and playing European football. It'll just be interesting what's going to happen when all the big ones come back. What is he going to be? Is he going to be 3rd choice, 4th choice? Or is he just going to keep him in there? But he's certainly done nothing wrong.
Bielka.
Yeah,
I think.
Narovsky. Well, we don't know yet. You know, he's
Welsh and
injury.
Lagerbielke played last night in the testimonial for Kamikea. So they're back, so he's still keeping his place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's just an old school centre half. He just goes and wins the ball, and distribution could be better sometimes.
I think he's got a great left peg on him, Ruffy.
Yeah,
I think he plays some good football.
Yeah, I'm not being over criticising him, mate. Everybody makes mistakes.
Worthy of a new deal?
Yes. I think he's a good player. And in the Ireland squad as well now. So, no, he's what a turnaround, and it just shows you if you stick in, work hard, a different face, a different voice might fancy you when others don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Last point, got to talk about Everton. 10-point deduction for a breach of the financial fair play. I think they must feel really hard done by. They're now 19th in the table, just 4 points. The losses of just under 400 million over the last 3 years. And I think they've been allowed to lose a maximum of 105 million. And again, you look at the accountancy elsewhere with deals that are suddenly struck.
That's going to open up a massive can of worms.
It really is.
Man City in particular, Chelsea signing guys on 10-year deals and all that, and
Players out on loan.
Players out on loan and signing players and putting them out on loan so it doesn't come under your wage structure. And that there's ways round it. But
Big sponsorship deals that you would never announce normally under any circumstances.
no, and they're moving into a new stadium as well, Peter. Yeah. And you know, I'm reading your screen there. The teams that get relegated last season are talking about suing them. So
It's crazy.
This is going to explode.
I still think they can escape.
Yeah, they're not. They're only
It's Burnley, it's Sheffield United, it's Luton and Everton. That's the 4 in the mix. Bournemouth have just got a wee cushion at the moment. That could disappear. But for me,
There's still loads of time.
Still think Sean Dyche can get them out of it.
Yeah, I think he'll probably have the safest job in England, don't know, though it sounds crazy. Drop them down to that, everybody knows the predicament. You've just been 10 points taken off you. I think it might relax them, and I agree, they might start really kicking on and picking up results, but it's edgy. Imagine the fans down there, don't know.
Yeah.
Quite passionate there.
What a stadium. I was down there
We went down
2 weeks ago.
we went down to see Nazy, and we went down, did an interview, and they took us to their training ground, and
Yeah, but have you seen the new stadium, Ruffy?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's phenomenal. I mean, I was down there 2 weeks ago, Tam. It is unbelievable.
We were down last year when they were building it for the Liverpool game, and it's a state of the art, you know, millions of pound stadium. And if they're in the Championship again, how are you going to afford that? You know, so it's the good thing for them is they're not cut adrift. They're still, as you say, there's teams down there that they can target and catch, and I would still expect them to stay up. They'll have a chip on their shoulder. They'll think they've been hard done by, and that will drive them forward, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope they get out of it, do you?
I really do, aye.
You want the big clubs like that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a
by the
Liverpool
way,
fan, but I want Everton.
They've never been relegated, is that right?
Never been
Them and Arsenal.
relegated. Yeah.
Good quiz question. That's right.
No, it's no.
Well, I want them to stay up, Ruffy, do you not?
Yep. Am I right in saying that their old stadium was modelled on the Ibrox Stadium? The main stand. The main stand.
Yeah. The old one. Yeah, I think you're right, Ruffy. I think you might be
Knowledge,
right.
Ruffy.
It's another
Yeah.
quiz question. It's
Well,
not worth salt now.
Do you know what the updated Rangers stadium originally was modelled on?
Oh, was it the Copenhagen Stadium?
No. It was.
It's another quiz question.
I think it was the Luigi Ferrari Stadium in Sampdoria.
Was it?
I think so. Yeah, I may be wrong.
I thought the sports stadium modelled on Borussia Dortmund, the big bit behind the goals.
Westfalen. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay.
There's just stuff getting thrown about here that's just probably not factual.
Do you know the?
Oh, that's very factual.
Do you
what I say.
know the?
Factual what you said.
It'll be a first. You know what? The only thing missing is a pint and a wee chaser. It's getting ever closer to Christmas, Tam. We're making the selections for the Christmas party.
It is. Looking forward to it. Tuesday night.
It's unusual, and thankfully, Ruffy, we've finally got a Rangers pundit that we don't need to put a ring of steel around him, because he's not really an inflammatory boy that.
Well, we've not seen him under the influence yet.
I know.
Yeah, if you kick off, they'll be anyway, the one person who will have a ring of steel is Lenny. We'll have 4 security guards around him, and they'll be about 6'4". Is that right, Robbie?
Yeah. I mean, we've obviously saw the video evidence of that.
Absolutely. The one place we're not going is Newcastle. Anyway, looking forward to it. Can you believe it? Christmas just around the corner. The reason why I'm mentioning that is because coming up over the next 4 or 5 weeks, We've got some really special interviews, one-to-ones. I think you're going to enjoy the content that we're creating on PLZ Soccer. I defy you to look anywhere else and see that they're producing as much as we are firing out to you. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Tell your friends, like, follow and share across our social media. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We'll offer you an opinion. Some of you will like it, some have not, but that's the joy of football. It's a game we love, and we try and get you involved as well. Hit the subscribe button if you can, share it with your friends, and don't forget there's so much content there on our YouTube channel for you to enjoy. And if you download the app on PLZ Soccer in the App Store and in Google Play, it's all there at your fingertips. Great to have your company. Thank you for listening and watching. From Ruffy, from Lee, and from Tam McManus, myself, Peter Martin. Have a great weekend.